Come, come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You are welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes, you are welcome here. No matter what you have experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. My name is Lindsay, my pronouns are she, her, and I am a tall woman with light brown hair wearing a gray blazer. It is my privilege to serve as the worship associate for this morning's service. And our worship leader this morning is I'm sorry. Reverend John Cooper. I know him, just I'm not very good with names. Okay. All right, let us take a moment now to fully arrive and welcome one another with joy. And so you can start by turning behind you and waving to people online. And then for everyone who's here in person, now it's time to greet your neighbors. All right, everybody. We're going to do our hymn next. Number 305.
Let's give him a chime.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Thank you, John.
Please remain standing to light our chalice. And we selected that song because it fits more than one theme in our service this morning. So, you want to come join us and help? And please join me in saying our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice with the warmth of love, for the light of truth, for the energy of action, and the flames of resistance. Thank you. You may be seated. And for those young in age or young in heart and spirit, it's now time for all ages. Story time. Please come forward.
Come on up, you guys. I have a lovely story to share with you guys today about a guest house, and it's very lovely, and I hope you enjoy the artwork in it too, because I think it's really beautiful artwork. All right, let me come sit down here by you guys. So this story is called The Guest House, and it's actually a story that they adapted from a poem called The Guest House by Rumi. And so we're going to take a look at this. And already, can you see how beautiful the artwork is? I know, I love it. I'm an artist, though, so I love art. That's beautiful. Here we go. The Guest House. We don't need to All right. Once upon a time in Persia, there was a little girl, Noor, who lived in a guest house. What do you guys see about this guest house? Lots of people and yeah, what else, Lucas?
It mostly looks like a fun house.
Right? So many things happening. Yeah, one day Noor was surprised by a circus that came to town. Good, yeah, you noticed it. She happily invited all the performers to the guest house to taste the delicious cakes she made from her great-grandmother's recipe.
Wow.
That is quite the number of guests to have, right?
I don't know.
I mean, there's even camels, right? Well, maybe they had something else for the camels, right? I don't know. We'll have to see, right? Yeah, let's find out. That night, she also included all the elephants, clowns, and acrobats as guests to her house. So she's inviting everyone. Together, they joyfully watched the brilliant fireworks light up a sky of jewels. Everything was wonderful, as if sent from heaven. And look at that. Look at all those elephants. Wow. That's a lot of individuals to have in your guest house, right? But the next morning, a flock of angry blackbirds flew inside the guest house, screeching, cawing, fighting, and breaking everything into pieces, ruining the peace of Noor's guest house. Oh no.
What were they angry about?
I don't know. But they definitely came in and smashed everything, huh?
Maybe they are like, I do not want this. Maybe they build a nest close to it, and then they're trying to protect their babies.
You know, maybe. So standing amidst all the broken pieces, Noor realized that she could transform the tiles, all those broken pieces, into a beautiful mosaic for the walls. Look at that. Right? The birds in their angry visit were guests too. They were guests too. All right? Noor felt her heart turn. She was happy that her guest house could receive both the joyful circus and the angry birds.
The angry.
Angry birds. Maybe one of them was big and red and... Right? So she's kind of taking things and trying to find some joy even in the destruction, huh? Oh boy, look what's going on now. More chaos?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the winds came and violently swept everything out of the guest house, including the Persian kittens. Oh no. Pet peacocks, rugs, pots and pans, dolls and toys, and musical instruments.
Dolls?
Everything. Noor saw all her prized possessions scattered in the wind. Poor kittens.
A doll is a prized possession?
It is to some people, huh?
Where did the birds got left behind?
Yeah. They're like, oh my gosh. Oh dear, look at poor Noor. Poor Noor.
Her hair is crazy.
Her hair is crazy. The guest house was a full-blown storm. The rain, thunder, and lightning beat down on the guest house and completely tore it apart. Look at all the walls. Get out of there. Well, I think she did.
Even
because she got blown out.
it looks like the pieces of the paper got out.
Yes, it does. Noor's guest house was gone. Noor thought to herself, how will I ever see the good in this storm? The storm took everything from me. That's hard, huh? Have you guys ever had something like that where it's like, how can I find the good in this when it's taken everything? But I still have myself, and I am still standing. A calm came over Noor's heart. She realized that even the storm was an honored guest. Her guest house was in her heart. It was not a physical structure. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when Noor sat and reflected, she looked at the pool of crystal clear water, and Noor found herself in her reflection. She looked at her eyes and was grateful for her sight. She looked at her mouth and was grateful for her ability to speak. She looked at her head and was grateful for her ability to think. She was so grateful for all the things that she took for granted before the storm. Looking up to the heavens, Noor rejoiced. With every guest, there's a promise of transformation. You guys know what transformation means?
Yeah.
What does it mean? What does it mean, Chloe?
It means like transferring
It's
back.
like changing, right? Is that what you were going to say? Yeah, like changing. So every guest, there's a promise of transformation for the host. But we never know when it will happen, right? Or how it will happen. My heart is now open. I realize now every guest is from you, our beloved creator of eternity. There's Noor, reflecting on all that transformation that happened through all the craziness. Right? What do you guys think? Do you think you can find ways to have people in a guest house of your heart and even try and grow from things that might seem horrible? It's hard, right? Okay, something for you to think about. All right, you guys, thank you so much. You were good listeners. Thank you. You were wonderful. Okay, and you're headed down to your class. Yeah.
I have a kitten.
Oh.
This community, our church, and its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Many of you pledge monthly to support our work, and for this we are grateful. Your gifts help to ensure that we are able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. Part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. Over the last 15 years, and now our 16th year, we have given away more than $65,000 to over 75 different organizations. Our charity this morning is Hope Clinic. Since 2010, the Hope Clinic has been providing free medical care to individuals and families that have to live below poverty levels and uninsured. You can learn more about it at utahhopeclinic.org if you want to know more. Please join me in reading our offertory words. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts. We will now accept the offering. For those at home, you are welcome to use the giving link in the online order of service. I invite the ushers to come forward at this time.
For all we have received and all we have found the courage to give and share, may we be truly grateful. Randall and I worked out a sound-based meditation this morning, so I'll ask you to get comfortable. And by the way, I am the Reverend John Cooper. I'll introduce myself a little better at the order of the sermon. I also realized we skipped our land acknowledgement in the script, so let me pause right now to acknowledge and say we're on the ancestral lands of the Ute, Shoshone, and Paiute people, and that it is important to carry respect and honor for that heritage in our hearts and minds. So, for our meditation today, I have some guidance before we start. I want you to please get comfortable, preferably feet on the ground in some way, unpack yourself, try not to be too cramped up. And I want you to pay gentle, mindful attention to the way the sound makes you feel. I want you to pay attention to what thoughts arise as you listen to the sound and what pulls you out of the focus of paying attention to the sound. And for every thought that arises, I want you to pause and say, thank you, we can talk more about that later. And then bring your mind gently back to just paying attention to your feelings, your body, the sound, the music. And in particular, pay attention to what emotions come up, what feelings the music, and what interrupting thoughts may come up in you. We'll have about 6 minutes here. There'll be a couple of transition points in the music. And let us begin. Please place your feet on the floor, get in a comfortable position, and either close your eyes or let them close part way and maybe focus your eyes on something, whatever's more comfortable for you. Thank you.
The Guest House by Rumi, translated by Coleman Barks. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep through your house, empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Boom. Hi. Excuse me. Welcome. I'm Reverend John Cooper. I'm a pretty big white dude who's rocking a sweater vest and a purple shirt this morning. I'm also a board-certified hospital chaplain with the Association of Professional Chaplains, an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister in fellowship, an affiliate minister of South Valley, and a longtime member of this community. These days I work managing chaplains throughout Utah, and I worked doing clinical spiritual care bedside for many years. A lot of my work in clinical spirituality deals with emotions. Spiritual care is about people's ultimate truths, what meaning they find day to day, the purpose they believe their life serves, the people, the communities, the truths they feel connected to, and where they find purpose. And people have a lot of emotions about such things. You may have noticed that there are a few things going on in the world today that you might have a few emotions about. I know I do. And personally have lived through some trauma, and I have to manage some post-traumatic stress. I've been diagnosed with and treated for depression, which I'm actually don't have a lot of feelings about because it's a normal side effect of the work that I do. A lot of people that do work like I do have to manage some depression. It's a common mental health reality. when you choose to do what I do. My journey and experiences in those areas has opened up a lot of understanding about emotions. How I can have emotions, how I handle emotions, how I use emotions, how I can be okay in the midst of emotions. And I wanted to share some reflections and history from that experience from here today because, like I said, there's a lot going on that you may have feelings about. And maybe something in this morning's sharing will be useful to you. And nothing I'm about to say is specific to any person. My sermon is entirely HIPAA compliant. I've been at this for a while. None of these identities are accurate to a specific person. They could be all of us, any of us, or none of us. And I want to let you know that thinking about emotions in my work, it may also make me tear up. It may make me cry. Don't worry. It might not this morning. I never know for sure. But I worked hard to be able to cry while still being okay and functioning. And I'm proud of that. And so if that happens, don't worry about it, please. I'm good. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you? For the Star Wars fans among you. All right. Let's look at the next slide, the emotion feeling wheel. Yeah, that's a lot of emotions, right? You can't even make them out. Right? You want to know something even more amazing about this? You can feel a good chunk of that wheel all at once. I'll get to that in a little bit. How we engage, and I hope that this morning helps you on your journey, because how we engage and experience our emotions is really important to who we are. It's important to how we carry on through life, and it's important to who we are becoming as we carry on through life. Our being, our existence, our inner self is something like a garden. It grows what we cultivate within. I remember once upon a time a surgeon fell into my arms crying in the hallway because he knew who I was and he knew the tears were welcome. And he just fell into me and told me with sobs about working on a young mother with bone cancer. He told me about how the bones were ruined and how his team was pulling out rotten bone material for hours and kept pulling until they reached nerves and had to stop. He wept in my arms because he couldn't prevent her pain as she was dying. And he wept in my arms because he had met her young children, because she was a truly lovely human being who did not deserve such a fate. And he wept because he knew in a few days, as a bone cancer surgeon, he might have to do the same thing for someone else. And he wept in my arms because falling into my arms is part of how we go back into that pain and that horror again and again and again to try to show up for the people who have to live there. I want to talk about how we grow that type of resiliency in ourselves. Because I also remember hosting a memorial service for another doctor who was always joyful with his team, who never cried in their arms, who never came to spoke to me as a chaplain. He always helped people with his smile, and his memorial stands out in my memory because I remember trying to help that team make sense of things after he died by suicide. How we face our emotions, how we engage with them, determines a part of how we will live or not. And modern culture, let's be honest, modern culture is pretty horrible at teaching humans how to be with their emotions. I mean, I turned to like a 1,500-year-old poem. My favorite material for engagement is Rumi's Guest House. Right? I've shared Rumi's Guest House with more patients and families than I can remember. I often use a picture and a painting by a dear colleague and friend, Chaplain Sandra Shanti. Let's see that now. I think it's next. This painting is called The Guest House. I first saw it on the wall in Chaplain Shanti's office. And when I asked Sandra about it, she said that when she started training as a chaplain, she had all these emotions that were constantly knocking on her door, interrupting her world, her life. in her patient, family, or hospital staff visits. Sandra shared that this painting came to her when she realized that with the help of the divine, however you might relate to the divine or not divine, she could create a sacred space, and like Rumi, she could welcome her emotions in, share a meal with them, listen to them, learn from them. She could hear what her emotions wanted to teach her and show her, and then also with the help of the divine, when she was done, with some help from the vast beyond, she could say, you all don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And she found that after giving her emotions some space intentionally and listening to them and spending time with them, they stopped knocking on the door so often. And certainly they were not as insistent in their knocks once she was choosing to give them her time and attention. When human beings have to face the impossible, when the world around us or within us seems broken and untenable, giving our emotions space intentionally, choosing to invite them, even if they are a crowd of sorrows that tear through our house, sweeping it clean, inviting them, engaging with them, feeling them with some agency and choice of our own, is part of how we turn our emotions into those guides from beyond, instead of forces that tear the house to pieces. There's science and theory behind what I'm saying today as I interpret Rumi's Guest House and this artwork. The science comes from the work of Susan David, which I love that because my mom's name is Susan and my father's name was David. Right. So this author, Susan David, wrote about emotional agility, and you can look up emotional agility. It's a relatively new psychology theory and term. There's also the work of Daniel Goleman, which is getting aged now, on emotional intelligence. And then a lot of the resiliency work or resiliency construction that I'm talking about is published by Duke University and University of Utah Resiliency Centers. I'm not going to give you the scholarly citations. I wasn't feeling it when I was writing this, frankly, all right? So if you want, you can go look up those works and go down the rabbit hole. It's a good, solid, deep rabbit hole. You'll enjoy it, all right? I want to stay a bit more earthy and artsy this morning, all right? But those are the terms: emotional agility, emotional intelligence, cultivating resiliency. Those are all terms you could search. There are several things that stand out related to emotional engagement and capacity in the stuff that I've looked at and studied. When we have emotional agility, that is the ability to move between emotions fluidly. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and understand the emotions you are having. Emotional resilience is the ability to have those intense feelings and carry on, or to return to day-to-day life without lasting harm to oneself from them. And then this is what we're talking about this morning, is what I like to call emotional engagement, which is what my chaplain colleague taught me, which to me represents our ability to use our emotional agility, our emotional intelligence, and to construct or build our emotional resiliency. Emotional engagement is something like learning to engage, experience, and recognize our feelings, our emotions, without being experienced by them or taken over by them or internally abused by them, which we do sometimes, don't we? Think about that for a moment before we move into the next part of the sermon. Like, there's a big difference between feeling angry and acting on your anger, isn't there? Right? When we have strong emotions, there's this chemical soup that starts up in our brain, and that chemical soup is designed to bring us focus. It makes it hard to think in the abstract. It makes it hard to reflect. It narrows our focus so that we tend to see things in a way that align with the emotion. Our options and choices narrow. Our observation becomes less astute, and our thinking becomes focused, and we get a lot of energy from emotions, don't we? Right? They're exceptionally well designed for survival contexts. And for those of us who don't live in survival contexts every day, they can be a little difficult, can't they? Let's use the meditation you all just did, because one of the ways we learn to engage with our emotions is the practice you just engaged in this morning, right? You all just did that as a meditation. You shifted your experience from being experienced by your emotion or reacting to the music to, I hope, trying to watch yourself react to the music. Now, as a young, driven man whose culture taught him little about how to have feelings, my go-to emotion was anger. I was very good at expressing my anger. I was very good at changing other emotions into anger. Right? I still do that. Anytime I'm scared, I tend to get angry until I realize, oh my gosh, I'm actually scared, right? I think some of you may be familiar with the more common term for this. I think it's called an anger management problem or something like that, right? And I have the boxer's fractures and fused bones in my right hand to prove that I had this experience in life. They still hurt decades after I broke them the last time I punched a wooden floor repeatedly until I got to feel them break. So when I say I had an anger management problem, I'm not kidding, right? And you know, for me, I'm not sure I'll ever actually try to have these bones fixed. They ache pretty often, you know, but they're really good at reminding me of why I don't want to act out my anger, why I want to witness my anger and understand it and let it be a teacher for me instead of acting on it. All right, let's see the next slide. There's a close-up of the door coming, I think. Yeah. Oh, our community here has gotten so sophisticated on worship. I'm like turning around and looking, and I have like a little monitor here showing me the slides. This is beautiful. I stand at the door and knock, is what those words say. I don't know if you can see them, they're still a little small, but those words say, I stand at the door and knock. Let's go to the next slide. And these words say, if you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in and we will share a meal. Note that my colleague wrote, if you hear my voice and open the door. That is very important. It's our agency, our choice, our free will that is the thing that gives us emotional engagement. It's the thing that gives us a choice about how we experience and handle our feelings. It also acknowledges we are not our emotions. Emotions knock. And sometimes we may try to hold that door closed, you know, like holding our arm up in the air, which we can do for a while, you know, but eventually we get tired and we maybe can't hold the door closed anymore. Maybe I'll leave my arm up for the rest of the sermon. I don't know. What do you guys think? Right? There's a practice in a lot of spiritual traditions. It's been integrated into acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, as you may know of it, which is a very evidence-based, therapeutic-based practice. And that concept is this inner observer. Right? In ACT, it's called dropping anchor, where you basically check in with yourself and your body for a moment. You take a deep breath and you experience your body where you're at, and you experience, am I okay in this moment? And I mean, of course, if you're in actual danger, don't pause and drop anchor, right? Use the emotions to get out of danger, out of danger. You like that? Use the emotions to get out of danger, and then pause and drop anchor, okay? But if you think about the meditation today, I invited you to watch and listen to your feelings and thoughts. Now, I want you to recognize whatever it was that was watching in that moment. That is what we call your inner witness. That's the part of you that is beyond your feelings or beyond your thoughts. Humans are so astonishing because you are not your mind. You are not your emotions. You are not your body. You are all of those things, and yet you're something more. You're the container for them. You're the being who's having the experience of your body. You're the one that watches. You're the house. And that's amazing. I mean, you're the one who gets to choose whether or not to open the door and spend time with your feelings. Let's look at the next slide, please. This is a close-up of the table. And here it says, because I'm sure you can't make out these reddish words on the reddish background, you prepare a feast for me in the presence of my enemies. And you may have noticed that the beings around the table are not the most friendly of images or the most comfortable appearing beings. Let's go to the next one. I think we're going back to the full image, right? Those aren't the friendliest of beings. Emotions can be like that. They're not always comfortable, are they? And sometimes they're aggressive, overbearing, rather unfriendly, aren't they? And to quote our 1,000-year-old poet, welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Treat each guest honorably. They may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. I connect particularly with this word shame that comes up in that sentence. When I was training as a chaplain, I had a mentor, Father Lincoln Ure, Link for some of you that may have known him, who said to me, John, I don't think we're going to get rid of your shame. It's really buried in there deep in you. Maybe your way, being who you are, is to say yes to your shame. Shame is, after all, just another emotion. Right? That was one of the most transformational things anyone ever said to me in this existence, or maybe in the last existence too, I don't know. I mean, what happens when I feel shame? I feel like I'm gonna die. I feel like any worth I might have is suddenly gone. Nobody wants me, nobody cares for me. I feel alone, worthless, isolated, and sometimes in my shame, I can't even believe that creation ever wanted me here in the first place. But all of that is, after all, just another emotion, isn't it? None of that is actually happening to me, is it? I didn't actually suddenly lose my worth, did I? Link's guidance led me to wonder, what if instead of running and hiding and desperately trying to escape my shame, what if hiding from the knocks and turning the lights off and hiding under the bed in the corner of my house, I just went to the door, took a deep sigh, and said, here we go again. Hey, shame, you back again? Wow, hey, here I am, look at me, feeling worthless and meaningless and lost. That sucks. So, shame, what is it you want me to learn from our visit this time? Because I really don't have all night to spend with you here, shame. Let's get to the point. Well, okay, admittedly, sometimes it takes all night, right? But embracing my shame like that, learning to hear its knock and invite it instead of barring the door, instead of hiding or panicking, right? That has changed my relationship with shame entirely. It's taken years, right? And honestly, I'm not even always successful even after years. But I am sometimes able to witness my shame, to experience it and learn from it rather than it be experienced by it. And that's a bit like magic, honestly. I've not yet learned to be all like, there is no shame. Maybe someday we'll get there. I'll get to invite shame in for a meal and then I'll be like, hey, shame, there is no spoon. And I'll get to watch my shame try and eat soup with a fork. And that one was for you Matrix fans out there. All right, so let's get specific about this emotional intelligence, agility, and resilience, and let's bring this message home doing that. I think the artwork, we'll keep it up here for a bit because it's a beautiful image to help us contemplate this. All right, let's start with emotional intelligence. Have you ever realized you were emotional before you started acting emotional, right? This is why I have this hand, because I didn't understand this back then. Has anyone here had that experience of where Somebody was like, hey, what is wrong with you? And you were all, nothing is wrong, I am fine. And then you're all, oh, look at how I just said that. Something's up, right? Anyone here ever have that experience? Right? Yeah, I see some nodding and like some, oh yeah, I've been there. Yeah. So emotional intelligence in my understanding of it is being able to recognize when you're having an emotion, right? Being able to understand what that emotion is and maybe even knowing what made it knock on your door, right? And so, any one of us, myself included, who's had that experience, we have the opportunity to develop enhanced emotional intelligence so that does not continue to happen to us. Well, so that it happens less often, right? All right, let's talk about emotional agility, right? There's a story that is fun about this that Susan David uses in the beginning of her book. It's funny. It's about a ship in a lighthouse. There's a lot of versions of it. Most of you have probably heard it. To be authentic and real, it goes back to about 1931. It's not a true story, right? But the story goes that an American ship, I like this version right now especially, an American ship spots a light in the distance and recognizes that it's on a collision course with the light. Initial contact identifies the light source as Canadian. And the Americans say, please divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid a collision. And the Canadians respond, recommend you divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid a collision. The Americans respond, this is the captain of a U.S. Navy ship. I say again, divert your course. The Canadians say, no. I say again, divert your course. Americans respond, this is the aircraft carrier USS Lincoln, second largest ship in the United States Atlantic Fleet. We are accompanied by 3 destroyers, 3 cruisers, numerous support vessels. Our crew cannot change its direction. I demand that you change your course 15 degrees north. That's 15 degrees north, or countermeasures will be undertaken to ensure the safety of our ships. Canadians responded, sir, we are a lighthouse. You see why I like this story for emotions? Anybody ever had a sir, we are a lighthouse moment with your feelings? Yeah. Emotional agility is the ability to change direction. We're not beings of singularity. You saw the emotional wheel. I think it's next in our slides. Can we do the next one real quick? Yeah, this thing, right? It is complicated. We are complicated. I can be sad, angry, helpless, and enthused all at the same time. And my ability to move between those emotions, to listen to the crowd of guests in my house, to host a meal for many is what we call emotional agility. And I want you all to know that my ability to feel sad, angry, outraged, helpless, overwhelmed, nervous, convicted, compassionate, caring, loving, and hopeful all at once, right? And the ability I've cultivated to move between those emotions and know them and hold them all is part of what makes my presence as a chaplain feel different to people in their moments of horror and pain. Emotional agility is part of the sacred experience of being human, and it's part of the sacredness that makes my presence feel different when it has to feel different. And like any interpersonal capacity, emotional intelligence and agility can be cultivated and developed. And the process is simple. It involves using that inner witness, watching what emotions come when, how, and where, and listening to them, feeling them without losing oneself into them. When I was training to come do this, I had a mentor who said to me, John, it's okay to bleed on the pulpit, just don't bleed all over the pulpit and down off the stage and into the audience, you know? And I thought, that's pretty good guidance. Let the emotions out, but don't lose yourself in them. We develop the ability to experience our emotions without being overrun by them. And, it's complicated, right? It's complicated. But I'm very fond of a Walt Whitman quote as I think about this. And that quote goes, do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself, for I am vast, I contain multitudes. Thank you, Grandfather Walt. You are vast, you contain multitudes. Not only do you contain multitudes, you're not even the multitudes. You're the container, which is just an amazing, empowering idea. You're beyond vast. And you may notice that this central wheel has like 6 marks on it. Those are fear, anger, sadness, surprise, joy, and love, right? And by the way, if you just look up emotion wheel, you can have another really great internet rabbit hole if you haven't, right? And the wheel expands out from there. Love expands into things like tenderness, desire, loving, affection. At the farthest reaches of the wheel, it expands into things like relief, compassion, caring, infatuation, or sentimentality. Those are all different reflections of the feeling of love. Fear expands into things like terror, insecurity, nervousness, panic, helplessness, anger into rage or frustration, disgust, annoyance, even hate or revulsion. Surprise goes into confusion, amazement, astoundedness, and awestruck. I like awestruck, right? There's even a word in Hebrew for it, right? We usually translate that word in Scripture to fear, which, think about that for a minute, right? A lot of the translations in the Bible that say fear actually mean the aspect of fear that is to be overwhelmed and awestruck by the divine. So when it says, thou shalt fear your Lord, they mean thou shalt be awestruck and inspired by and feel humbled by and felt small but empowered by your Lord. But that's a hard translation, you know? And let me say also, as we come to a close here this morning, none of this is certain. None of this is discreet. I may know my witness. I may see my guest house and its door and its table when the multitudes come knocking, but there are times when the door still gets kicked open, the house still gets trashed when the party is done, and I still have cleanup to do. Knowing that is possible helps me. And I'm only transcendent when I choose transcendence, you know? And that choice simply isn't always among my options. Which leads me into the last little bit today, emotional resiliency. I have been told repeatedly that I am a deeply resilient person, but I want you to know I don't really think of that as a compliment, right? Not after a therapist helped me understand that the most common human response to trauma, pain, and suffering is resilience. And if that's true, I'm just not sure that being told one is resilient is a compliment. It sounds a bit more like an acknowledgement or a recognition, or maybe even sometimes a commiseration. But what I can tell you is that resilience emerges almost accidentally from one's inner garden. When one knows and can learn that one is not one's trauma, one is not one's history, one is not one's emotions, one is not even one's thoughts. One is the thing, the being, that is having those experiences. Let's make one more slide transition. We're back at the house that all this happens within. And let me quote the Gospel of Mary Magdalene by saying, let those who have ears hear. On Easter, I listened to Reverend Laura talk about Christ's power and how being forced to believe in the resurrection or not is an ultimatum, not liberation. It made me think of how afraid we all can be of our own power. Maybe we fear the responsibility and consequences, but if what I've talked about this morning serves you any purpose, then I hope you're suddenly thinking, yeah, but that fear of my power might just be a knock on the door, and maybe I ought to listen to it. What's it trying to tell me? And one last point, let me go on record saying, as we talk about knocking, I really dislike, that's not really the right emotion. I hate the term negative emotions or positive emotions, like just viscerally, ugh. Because if all of my emotions are guides from beyond, why would I want to be prejudiced against them? Why would I want to welcome positive guides and leave out negative guides For I'm vast, I contain multitudes. I don't need to limit the guides who come to teach me. So gentle people, as you travel the highways and byways of this vast existence, inner or outer, welcome all your guides as friends, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who tear through your home. You never know what new delight they might be clearing you out to welcome. Let us extinguish our chalice and carry on into our days together. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn and the extinguishing of our chalice. And our closing hymn, I believe, is 128, For All That Is Our Life. And look, we have it on a display. I'm so not used to this advanced worship.
Are you going to extinguish the chalice?
Let's sing first, and then we'll do it after the song. Thank you. We extinguish this chalice without the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of passion. The flames of resistance burn within, and we hold each other in our hearts until we meet again. Please enjoy our closing. And thank you all for being here with me this morning. You may be seated. Thank you. All right. And thank you also for bearing with your understudy worship crew here. Some of us don't do this very often. And so, all right, so thank you very much. Please enjoy our postlude.
Bye.